Macro gets paid on the 5th of every month, and within 72 hours, the money is gone. Not because macro is lazy, not because macro doesn't try, not because macro isn't smart enough, but because no one ever taught macro how to see money differently. School taught macro how to earn grades. Companies taught macro how to earn a paycheck. But no one taught macro the thing that matters more than both of those: how to keep money from controlling your life. This is the story of 8 levels of financial mindset. Not 8 income brackets, not 8 numbers in a bank account, but 8 completely different ways of seeing money, and only one of them leads to real freedom. Level 1. Fear. Macro looks at the phone and sees the account balance, not negative, just close to 0. But that feeling, the feeling of looking at a number and feeling your chest tighten, that's a feeling macro knows very well. At this level, money is not a tool. Money is a constant threat. Macro doesn't open the banking app in the morning, not out of laziness, but out of fear. Fear of seeing a number worse than yesterday. Fear of facing the gap between the life that is and the life that should have been. So macro spends, the moment the paycheck arrives, buying things not truly needed, not to enjoy them, but to make the feeling of having money last a few more days before the anxiety comes back. This is not a lack of discipline. This is the response of someone who has lived too long in a state of scarcity, to the point where the brain no longer believes money can last. The punishment for fear is running forever. Level 2. Avoidance. Macro knows there's a problem, but knowing and facing are 2 different things. The credit card is nearly at its limit. Macro doesn't check the statement. There are 3 unpaid bills sitting in the email. Macro marks them as red and leaves them there. A subscription from last year is still automatically charging every month. Macro knows but hasn't cancelled it, because cancelling means opening the app, and opening the app means looking at the whole picture. From the outside, macro looks fine, still smiling, still going to lunch with coworkers, still buying coffee every morning like everyone else. But on the inside, macro is carrying something heavier than any debt, and that is uncertainty. Not knowing exactly where things stand, only knowing that it's not good. Avoidance doesn't make the problem disappear. It only gives the problem more time to grow in the dark, until it becomes large enough that it can no longer be ignored. What you don't look at is still looking at you. Level 3. Survival. There is a call from the bank that macro cannot ignore this time. Not because macro has suddenly become braver, but because the wall has come too close. There is no more room to back away. Macro opens the account. For the first time in months, looking directly at all the real numbers. Total debt, total expenses, the actual balance after everything is subtracted. It's worse than macro thought, but macro keeps looking. This is the first time macro hasn't looked away. No fancy app, no complex plan, just a piece of paper, a pen, and a list of things to cut. Not because macro has suddenly become more disciplined, but because the fear is large enough to override the avoidance. This is the level where many people stay stuck their whole lives, not because they can't get out, but because they are never pushed to the point of looking the truth in the face. Pain is sometimes the only thing powerful enough to start real change. No one voluntarily changes until the cost of staying still is higher than the cost of changing. Level 4. Control. For the first time in years, macro knows exactly where the money is, not because there is more of it, but because macro begins to see its flow. Money in, money out, what's left. 3 numbers. Simple enough to sound almost laughable. But for someone who has spent years avoiding looking at any number at all, this is a big shift. Macro no longer panics when opening the banking app in the morning, no longer spends money to ease the anxiety, no longer feels like money is something happening to them that they have no control over. Control doesn't mean wealthy. Macro is still not wealthy, but for the first time, macro is steering the car instead of being dragged by it. And that feeling, small as it is is the first feeling of freedom macro has ever had in relation to money. Freedom doesn't start with having more money. It starts with knowing where your money is. Level 5. Accumulation. Macro starts keeping a portion before there's a chance to spend it. Not much. 5% at first, then 10%. Automatically transferred to a separate account the moment the paycheck arrives. No willpower required, no need to remember. The system does it. This is what macro learned. Willpower is a limited resource. It runs out by the end of the day. Automation never gets tired. Nothing changes from the outside. Macro still takes the same road to the office. Still eats lunch at the same place. Still drives the same car. Co-workers don't know, friends don't notice. But every month, a small number is growing in silence. The first month, the number is small enough to be almost funny. By the third month, macro stops checking it every day. By the sixth month, for the first time, macro opens the savings account without feeling ashamed. And here is what no one told macro before. The money you don't spend is not money you're missing. It's the first money that starts working for you. 24 hours a day, even while macro is asleep. Wealth doesn't start with a high income. It starts with the gap between income and spending. And that gap, however small, must be protected before anything else can happen. Level 6. Asset mindset. There is one question that changes everything. Macro no longer asks, what can I buy with this money? Macro starts asking, can this money make more money? Two questions, the same amount of money, but the first question leads to something that disappears. The second leads to something that multiplies. Macro looks back at the people around them and starts noticing things they never paid attention to before. A co-worker at the same salary, every 2 years, a new car, a new phone, a new vacation. A manager at the same salary, quietly buying a second apartment and renting it out. Same starting point. 2 different directions. 10 years later, 2 lives that no longer look alike. Macro starts learning, not to become perfect overnight, but to understand the basic types of assets. Stocks that pay dividends, real estate that generates rent, businesses that produce profit. All 3 have one thing in common. They pay you whether you're there or not. Macro doesn't need to understand everything at once. Just one thing. The money sitting in a bank account is losing value every year to inflation. Money standing still is money moving backwards. The difference doesn't lie in income. It lies in the question each person asks themselves when they hold money in their hand. Consumers ask, what can I buy? Asset builders ask, what can this create? Level 7. Cash flow. One Monday morning, Macro sits in the office and looks at the phone. There is a notification, not a paycheck, not a bonus, just a small dividend from an investment portfolio Macro has been building over 3 years. Not enough to quit the job, just enough to cover a few small bills. But Macro looks at that notification and for the first time understands something that before was only theory. Their time and their income are no longer the same thing. Everyone in the office is also earning a salary. But if they stop, the money stops. For Macro today, there is a small portion, a very small portion, that keeps running no matter what Macro does. Not freedom, not yet. Just a thin thread. But that thread is real. And Macro knows this thread can become a rope if Macro keeps going. This is a milestone few people talk about. Not when you become wealthy, but the first time you realize you have 2 income streams. One that requires your labor, one that does not. And the task from here is to grow the second one until it's large enough to replace the first, if one day you choose to. The first time money arrived without Macro being there, that was the first time Macro truly understood what freedom means. Level 8. Freedom. Financial freedom doesn't arrive on a specific morning. There is no moment when Macro wakes up and feels like everything is different. No one applauds. No one notices. No announcement from life that Macro has crossed some invisible finish line. Just an ordinary day, Macro realizes that today's decisions are no longer driven by fear. Macro can say no to a project they don't want to do, not out of indifference, but because there is a choice. Can spend a Tuesday afternoon on what matters without calculating whether there's enough money to waste that time. Can stop for 6 months, and the assets keep generating income. This is not the same number for everyone. $4,000 a month for someone living simply in a small town, $10,000 for a family in a big city. The number matters less than the question, can I stop working today without fear? Not because macro is luckier than others, not because the starting point was better, but years ago, there was one night when macro decided to look directly at the real numbers, instead of continuing to live in the comfortable fog of not knowing. That was the starting point of everything. Freedom doesn't begin when you have enough money. It begins when money is no longer something you're afraid to look at. Somewhere right now, someone just got paid, and within 72 hours, the money will be gone. Not because they are bad, not because they are lazy, not because they aren't smart enough, but because no one ever showed them that the problem isn't the number in the account. The problem is their relationship with that number, and that relationship can change if they want it to. Macro went through all 8 of those levels, not quickly, not easily, with no one applauding at any point along the way. You cannot jump from level 1 to level 8, but you don't need to jump. You just need to start by asking one question, the question macro asked on that night. What level am I at? And if you know the answer, the next step will be clearer than you think.